Hi, this is Andrew here, and I'm going to discuss a point within my world in relation to the point of haste or rushing, and was actually going to make a vlog about this a few days ago, but I will discuss it now. So the point is basically in terms of one of the reasons why I decided to take on doing offering a service for myself instead of, say, applying for a job and working for another person, was due to the fact that I didn't enjoy first of all, I didn't enjoy the experience of what I've found in many already pre-created systems of where within those systems you have to work and physically move yourself at a particular pace. And often that pace I have found to be one of haste. And individuals within those systems do not, or rather just define this point of haste or rushing as something normal and as something that's a part of this reality. They often call it, hard work, or seen as something that is required to be done in order to make money. And from my perspective, I have experienced this point as haste and rushing and abusive in terms of abusive towards myself, from the perspective of allowing myself to place myself in a situation where I am accessing a point of energy, or am required to access a point of energy to move myself at an unnatural pace. And I mean, I have observed this point in a few different cases, and so that was one of the main points in terms of establishing my own business or company or service, that being not allowing myself to rush and making sure that within the design of what I'm doing in terms of the company, not to design into that point a point of rushing or a point of haste, because that's why one of the reasons why I decided to do it in the first place was so that I didn't have to exist within that point of haste. And obviously that point has become much more clear since, and within my participation with Destiny, in terms of establishing a constant application of self, where one can't do that from the perspective of energy and going into polarity of, working really, really, really hard and then crashing. So within my world, I definitely see and realize there's an opportunity for me to test out the point of, within designing my own business or service or company, to ensure that I do not design it within that point of energy, and that I establish a more consistent application within the point. So what I've done basically so far is, in a way, reminding myself all the time, well, not like all the time, but whenever it's required, to slow down, because I know that if I don't allow myself to slow down, what I'm going to end up with is a design with the point of energy worked right into it, and I will have essentially trapped myself and done it to myself. So there's no excuses or blame within the situation, obviously, in any situations, but so I mean, it's interesting too to actually see, or have the opportunity to see, where I am still allowing this point within my world, because it will manifest within this business in terms of the design and and now there will be no question in terms of who did it. So that's kind of cool. So basically, what I do is, when I'm driving, because the job requires me to drive a lot from different house to house to house, and so I ensure that when I'm driving, I do not access that point of energy and try and move faster. Rather, remind myself and apply the point of just driving at a normal pace, at the pace of breathing, at breath, at a natural pace, and using the breath as a guide to just slow myself down and, constantly slow myself down as to not access that point of energy. So, yeah, that's been quite cool so far. I've been able to actually, make sure that within my movements, whether that be driving or even the actual physical act of doing the job itself, I make sure that I do not access that point of energy, because I find I have the tendency to do it still quite a bit, even though I'm aware of the point. So it is a process of constantly slowing myself down and flag pointing that point of where I access that point of energy and go into it. And I find this comes up particularly in relation to money. From the perspective of where I try and move faster so that I get the job done in a shorter amount of time and then essentially get paid more money. Meaning, okay, I charge X amount of money for a particular act. If I do that act faster, then I technically am getting more money because I'm spending less time doing it. So I guess the point that I realized is, do not place myself in a situation where that even is part of the equation, where that even comes into play. So what I found is that if I charge enough money, then there's no reason at all to access that point of rushing, because mostly that point of rushing is based on trying to get the most out of my time, because in the first place I didn't charge enough, and sort of existing within a relationship towards money within my world where I'm really have designed everything and placed everything so that the money coming in is really just enough to survive. And within that, it causes me to rush because I'm trying to push so that I can push more and essentially save time and get just that extra bit of money so that I can have some spare time. Instead of actually charging an amount of money where it will actually support me within my environment so that I don't have to rush, so that I don't have to access that point of haste. So, yeah, that's been a cool point, and so far I've enjoyed the process of starting one's own business or company or service or whatever you want to call it, and it's been quite enjoyable. Even the physical act itself of shoveling snow, which is what I'm doing, which is snow removal, just shoveling snow for people, and it's actually, I'm enjoying the act in itself, so that's cool. Yeah, so I'm still busy with establishing the price range and establishing a price so that I don't actually cut myself short and have to try and make up for it by rushing, which is what I've done my entire life and have had the tendency to do. So it's a cool point now to sort of take a stand, and so I'm really facing that point right now. And what I'm finding often is that I think a few times now, it's happened a few times, more than a few times, where I will charge a set amount of money thinking that it's going to be too much, and the person will actually pay me more because they see what I'm doing as having more value than what I've actually placed in it. So having this sort of thing happen over and over again, where I think I'm charging too much, and at the end the person gives me more money, has really sort of opened up the point in terms of how much value, or how I've allowed myself to exist in relation to money in terms of my beliefs around it, and how much I believe is a lot of money to charge for a certain act, instead of seeing it for what it is. I mean, it's arbitrary from a certain perspective, and sort of pushing myself to look at my reality, look at how much money is going to support me, in fact, and actually charge that much so that I don't ever have to access that point of haste, and I'm not struggling to just keep up anymore, because the amount of money which I've decided to charge for my services will be enough to sustain me and generate a profit for myself. So that's the point that I wanted to talk about. And yeah, that's everything. So thank you for watching.